And obviously, as you know, because part
Okay,
timers, you
cool.
guys are working, you are, I mean, you understand what I'm saying to you,
Yes,
you
I
will,
do.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, I don't want to just transcription off. I think it's just going to start doing it off, whatever. I don't even know about Teams. Anyway, okay, all right. So let me just switch. I just want to quickly share the first lesson. So go over there, and and then we're going to bounce in and out. That's not it. Excuse me. Stop presenting. I need two. Part one, man. Excuse. Yeah, lesson one of sand. There we go. Uh, in a second. Uh, okay. Can you see like lesson one? Does it say lesson one, module one? This radio one. Is that what's come up on screen? Is showing fine?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Uh, okay. Awesome. All right. I'm just gonna quickly just minimize this over here, and then let me just start with that. Okay. Great. Okay, so as detected graphics file may configure. Okay, I'm not going to actually present it. I'm actually. Does that show? Does the full screen show? Just want to check that. Is that fine?
No, it's not the full screen.
Okay, so you can just see. Okay, then this. But you're fine with this, right? So we have to
Yeah,
go. Okay.
I'm fine.
All
Yes, I
right.
am as well.
Good, great. Okay, so just again, there's just the admin there that we will, we'll be covering. Just I mean, you can go through this. I don't want to waste time just again because we have got a limited amount of time here. So you can go and look at that, and then you'll see that I'll give you some tasks to do for next week as well. Okay, so the idea, obviously, with the first couple of lessons is that I introduce you to not the concept of radio, I suppose the concept as well, but we do the like the elementary stuff and introduce you to kind of like a thought pattern as well, and just kind of understanding the landscape and so on, right? So we're going to start with that, and ask. I mean, if you have any look, I mean, please answer whatever you want. Well, by that I mean I encourage interaction. Obviously that's what we want. Whether you're wrong, whether you're right, it doesn't. As long as you try, right? And obviously, again, more discussions is always something that works better for me as well. I see with the kids as well. So let's also chat about experiences as we move on. Okay. So what are our in the radio industry we have three big facets and kind of like big players, I would say. So big sectors of where we divide our personal radio, like our radio space in, and it is public service radio. So our PBS stations, and our commercial radio and our community radio. Who can anyone tell me what like an example of like a public service radio station, a PBS, a public broadcasting service? What example, like what station do you know of that could describe what a PBS station might be? Anybody? It's cool. Yeah, go ahead. Let's go. Let's go with you. Is it fencing? Huh? You guys not know. You know my guess. Okay. I like I said, leave. I think leave your mics on where you can, right, so that you can answer. A PBS station would be, for example, our Lesseries, our Mots weddings, and our causes and stuff, right? So public broadcasting services are again owned by CABC, and that's fine, and that's cool. but very, very particular to our sect, to our tribal sect, and our cultural sect. A community radio, you should understand that. I mean, that's you've obviously in your own area got a couple of community radio stations that you know of. Do you know? Can you tell me where you're from? And who is the community station of choice in your area?
I'm from Soshanguve.
Yeah.
There is Soshanguve FM. We have TUT FM, the site, and
Good.
there's Mabopane FM, but that one is only online,
Okay.
not on radio as yet.
So also just I mean I have nothing against online radio, but when we speak of online radio, we want to kind of like also make sure that we don't confuse the like the actual. So I say the infrastructure of online radio is something that shouldn't be confused with radio. You understand? So like even the fact that Malpane FM has said an FM and it's not, there's no FM, it's just it's an online streaming service, right? Is where, and I will make some comments for that as well, as we move on through the lessons as well. But okay, tell me something. I mean, do you enjoy your community stations? Do they serve a purpose? Do you feel?
Um, I only listen to TUT, but on Friday nights, just for the
Okay.
music. But most of the time, I listen to SABC radios.
Okay. So then let's look at some from your side, Sibusiso.
Well, I'm originally from the Eastern Cape, and my community radio station is Takalani.
Okay.
Not Takalani Sesame though.
No,
Just
but that would be
Takalani.
cool. I'm just saying, I would love a kids radio station to begin,
No,
but
unfortunately.
it's something that
So
I'll work on at some
yeah,
point.
I know, right?
Yeah,
So it keeps me engaged with what's happening around my community, with the news. Some of the news we don't get to see them on television or on public radio, but we get to hear them on
right.
from our
Community.
community radio station.
Yeah, I mean the
Yeah.
biggest thing, like so, to give a rough number of, because the thing is, there's about 276 community stations in South Africa, and the idea is that every single person in this country has some like a station to be able to gather information from. Do you understand? So,
Okay.
I mean, you understand what I'm saying? So, obviously, looking at different areas that people live in, and then what obviously the dominant cultures that are there, or whatever it may be. Um, but at the same time, that can't be a rule for everything. So, for example, so I'm Greek heritage. My parents have Panhellenic. Panhellenic is only in Joburg, and that doesn't really cover everybody, every Greek, for example, in the country. The very small amount that we are. But the thing is that there is I mean, we can always stream online, in this day and age, and we could, besides streaming online, I'm holding up a phone here, we could always just plug in our earphones and just use the FM AM, obviously, ability from our phones, to tune into a station. But the thing is, again, it's kind of it's not kind of I strongly believe that, if we look at just the purpose of radio in general is always to be like every single citizen should be able to have some kind of basis for information. Because of a high emergency, we are real time. Do you understand? So for example, in the wars, the big wars, one and two, like radio, obviously radio dominated in one because television wasn't invented yet. In World War Two, it also, television was not a thing just yet. On the outskirts of World War Two, like we had German, actually, scientists and technicians or whatever it is, working with the Western, obviously Western parts of the world in developing, like, and obviously finalizing television as an invention, that they introduced just after the World War. Here in South Africa, which we'll get to a bit of our own history as well, like we received like television a lot later, than the late 1940s, right? So, but what I'm getting to is that it was I mean, if you can imagine yourself in a war, the like you need information. If we can look at it, something that was of a what did we just go through? We just went through COVID. You understand? And the thing is that we all we needed first we needed immediate information. And the thing is that so radio was on the rise immediately because we could get immediate information from radio, as well as, yeah, okay, we could look at the same sources and their digital, obviously their digital I say brothers and sisters, like on the web. But we were constantly in a space of uncertainty, and that remained actually for quite a long time. There was so much unknowns happening and happening and happening throughout COVID that we depended on real, I say, true factual media. Do you understand? And if we make a comment just around that, and I will get back to it because there's obviously so many things that we can chat about. That COVID was long enough for fake news to become a thing. It was always a thing, but there was so much released around opinion, and there was, if you can remember, especially in the very early phases of COVID, like we were on our phones, do you understand, and on the net the whole time, you understand, just as one, probably as an outlet, I suppose, because we couldn't really do much. We also a bit, like, again, because of the uncertainty, we didn't know, even if we could go out, we didn't want to go out, many things, you understand. So we were fed a lot from what we saw on social media. And when we say social media, it's not just about the posts and whatever it is, like the actual personal posts. We're looking about people who are finding and searching for information that they don't check. We don't check actually information when we go and share it on social media. And when I say that, it's specifically, let's say, like Twitter and on Facebook and stuff. Instagram's a bit different, obviously, because it's obviously a visual medium, um, photo visual. You understand? But okay, but the thing is, again, that this was like it remains relevant. I even was having a discussion yesterday, where I was having dinner with my cousin, and there was again that whole concept of, like, will radio ever die? In your opinion, do you feel like radio will die? It's that it's a medium that will or won't. Let's go with you first, Sibulele.
No, it's not gonna die because it's another form of media, right? So,
Mm,
and it's accessible everywhere or anywhere. So unlike TV that you cannot access anywhere,
mm,
radio you can access it in a taxi,
mm.
So
Yeah.
it's not gonna die at all.
And again, it serves a different purpose. Can you talk about that, offensive? Like, in other words, the reason why mediums stay, like television or print. We have obviously digital print now as well. South Africa is a little bit old school. We like to actually still keep around paper print as well. But can you tell me more about why radio is essential as a medium on its own compared to the others?
Okay, in radio, uh,
Hmm.
first of all, is real time, as you've said,
Hmm.
and I listen to it each and every day. In the morning, I know there's a certain channel that has or radio station that has um, real time or hard topics every day, different topics that are affecting us, and then other stations, in the morning on your way to work, it's either they just play music and then they have celebrities in the studio, compared to television, whereby it's a regular thing or a repetition of something. So
Mm.
radio is real time, and I don't think it's gonna go away anytime soon. The
No.
content it's so much more than what you get from TV.
And the thing is, again, with
True.
TV, it is, yeah, that's great. The thing is with TV also, it is probably 90% premeditated. In other words, it is pre-produced, it is scripted to a large extent. You understand, because there's so much more. It is television is so much more work. I mean, than radio is, because there is that, because of the visual element. You understand, and again, because television has to offer so much more than just factual news. It can't do that. Like for us, again, we're a reflection of what happens in people's lifestyles. You understand? Whereas television is a representation of more of a more it's a purer form of entertainment. You understand? Like the reason why you go watch a movie at cinemas, like we're gonna go watch like like some kind of real talk. I don't know, whatever it is at the movies. It's got its purpose. Do you understand? And so the thing is that our mediums, including the digital space, do you understand? Like the digital era and the golden age that it is currently experiencing and growing from, these they have different. There's no reason for these various types of mediums to be intimidated or threatened by, if they stick strong. So we need to stick strong to what we're good at. You understand? And there's no reason to believe that any of the mediums actually will not be relevant. You understand? Moving ahead. Okay, so let's quickly. So commercial radio is quite, I think, straightforward. So commercial radio is our. I mean, these guys. These are the ones that are making, obviously. They are business for money, whereas community radio is considered. I mean, I say quote unquote very loosely, like NGOs, right? Not or non-profits, right? So commercial radio is our obviously our YFMs, our Metro, our Five, our Jacarandas, our East Coasts, our Smile. So around the country we have 33, I think it is. So 33 commercial stations. Here in Gauteng, obviously we have the most, and I say we have the most because we have the highest density of of a population here. So, and that's why it makes sense to me, is because again, the one is obviously a larger target market that can obviously, well, has to be obviously serviced, and there's obviously a lot more money to be made here. I'm saying, and can be shared. Commercial radio, we who's your first choice for commercial radio at the moment? Uh, let's go, Offensive.
For me, it's Radio 2000.
Okay, Radio 2000. Sibilele, you say?
It has got to be YFM.
Okay, good. All right, and I
And
want you
Chris,
to, yes.
just a second. Someone is asking for a code. Someone wants to join. They're asking for a code.
Okay. Do we have? There isn't a code, is there?
I sent him the link, and I think he's struggling to join us.
I'm just gonna share again. I'm just gonna go to people, and then wait for someone to request. Let me just go back and see if there's anyone else. Um, yeah, it just says, meeting in general. No one's come in yet. Um, okay, let's hope that the student can just get in from the way that you've come in. But yeah, I see no one in the waiting room from the side. Okay,
Okay.
okay. Let's go back. I'm just gonna continue sharing. Not stop sharing. You can actually still see the first lesson, eh? Right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Okay, great. So, again, so what you see there in front of you is a little bit more of like, so within South Africa, we had our own struggles, as you know, but that also was reflected in the way that the media infrastructure was developed as well. Because okay, so we say that, I mean, the first radio broadcast took place in 1923. There were three licenses there. There was, it was the, it not the SABC, but the ABC that was developed, and it struggled financially in the 1930s. I mean, you can imagine a really old South Africa, again, really starting to develop those fine lines of, apartheid, and where everything started to really go, when I say south, when we were sanctioned and cut off from the world, and there was just obviously like no movement here in the country itself. We started to also, again, that's what I'm saying, to the segregation was like almost like quite clear in the 1940s there, and again, because the SABC was there, obviously now running as the only source and media source that would broadcast across the country. So we didn't have any privatized station, any pre-privatized stations like our 947s, Jacaranda, that did come later, right? Did still belong in the coming now timeline to the SABC, and they broke away. But we'll talk about that in just a second as well. Right. If we have to think about like just South African radio back in the, let's say, just 70s, 80s, right? There would be what was known as Bantu radio. You understand? Controlled, scripted, and again heavily, um, like with an iron fist. The apartheid government was, like everyone in the country. It doesn't matter. Like, this was obviously a hateful country. It still needed information. That was the thing. So, but the thing is, again, the difference with the English Afrikaans stations slash, though, again, what was considered Bantu radio, or labeled under, that was fully controlled, and again, it was a, for what I can understand, like a 4-hour broadcast a day, right? So by no means uh, forming any kind of way forward, until obviously apartheid was shut down in 1994. Okay, so once again, just a bit of the notes on the SA revolution or movement forward, which I'm not really going to focus on, just because I want you to go and back and read there. I mean, do you know anything of your own that you found was a milestone moving forward? And it doesn't have to be from the 80s and 90s. I'm talking like maybe in the past 10 years, where you've seen something happen within the broadcasting industry and said, "Oh wow, that was a big change." Anyone? Or not yet? Is it too soon for me to ask that? Which is cool. I mean, I can understand that.
Um,
That's okay. If give it some thought, because again, where we look at this, at these timelines, these are kind of like, I say, black and white, factual timeline, factual milestones, right? Like, for example, developing ICASA, and again, to explain that briefly, ICASA is where we issue licenses for radio stations, right? So any existing radio station has to renew their license under certain rules, and whatever it may be, what was given to them in the first place, the amendments and whatever it may be made. And then there are stations that are issued new licenses, and there are new stations. So, for example, like Star FM, that's I think just over a year old right now. It's a community station here in Gauteng. Like, it belongs in a certain area. It's brand new. You understand? They were given the old Hot 91.9 frequency. And so if we look at let's take our commercial stations, right? Over the past 10 years, if we look at ICASA, there has been growth across the country for new stations. The first one being Power FM. Power FM is not that old. I think it's about 8 years old. Uh, and Smile FM down in Cape Town. Smile FM is in particular quite unique because of how much it shows that Cape Town wanted another station. Why I say that is because so I worked at Prime Media for just under 10 years, right? And so I did work. I was so when I was 24, I got the 7 to 10 weekday. I went straight from campus on the drive, and I went straight there, and I moved between. We have four stations. I worked at the three, so producing at 702, and then working on air for KFM and working for 947, right? But what I want to say about that is that KFM dominated, right? It was its only quote unquote competition was Good Up FM, which was totally different, a totally different format, and definitely not at all considered competition. But then Hot FM, which was I can't exactly remember the previous but it doesn't matter. But Hot FM is one of the it's one of the better stations actually in the country. But that was the only competition, right? So KFM easily brought in a lot of listeners and easily brought in a lot of money, right? Until Smile FM came along, and Smile FM literally crippled KFM, right? And why I'm talking about this is because the issuing of we need more commercial stations because um, uh, like our choices are very limited, like super limited. If you look at your choice of radio stations, like we have the average South African will have one commercial, okay, one PBS station, and one community, right? That they will swap maybe like here and there between, right? For you to have maybe two, let's say, commercial stations, right? For you to go to the second one at any one point is for a reason. So either the first one has given you a reason, a bad reason, like for example, their content's terrible, you don't like the fact that they're talking too much, that they're talking too little. When they talk, they talking rubbish. Like you will move to the other station, but it'll take about 6 months for you to rotate and go back to the initial station, right? Your first station of choice, right? The other reason is that the second commercial station you've chosen uh, offers a certain show or a certain personality and show that you specifically want to only tune in for that aspect only. Do you understand? Or a speciality show, like let's say like obviously we have had our Metro FM Sundays as man that has been going on for decades, and I'm not joking because when I say when I was like my first year at varsity was 1999, that was still a thing. This was still a thing. It's a reason why I will tune in on Sunday. But I'm not necessarily a Metro FM listener throughout the week. It's not really there for me right now. But you do understand. So the thing is that we need more stations, and because we need more choice. And the thing is that the commercial stations become conglomerates in a way. If you look at the Free State, does anyone know who is dominant in the Free State? It is really there's only one commercial station, and we don't. You see, 5FM and Metro do not count because they are national, right? Okay, so the regional stations always win in every region. They always have more listeners than 5 would or Metro would in that particular area. But who is they are unmatched. I'm saying to you, in other words, they're not. Um, there's no competition for them, right? Who is that in the Free State? Anyone?
I think it's EFM.
It's actually not. SAFM is also national. National. It's a national talk station. Radio 2000 is. I just want to quickly make clear that Radio 2000. What was the initial? What is the initial like? What do you assume that their license says? What do they have to do first before they're allowed to actually do like shows? What is their mandate? In other words, to broadcast live sports, right? Okay, so the thing
Okay.
is, like, Radio 2000 was like, let's say if there's a soccer match, like you should be tuning to Radio 2000 to hear like the live. You understand? Like obviously the live um, uh, uh, transmission of that or whatever it may be, right? So SFM is the national talk station, right? No, it is. So it's OFM. If do you guys know of OFM? Have you heard of it?
I've never heard of that, Chris.
Me
Okay.
too.
That
What, Chris, what
they're
about
not.
Lesedi?
Yeah,
Lesedi
yeah, no,
FM though?
okay. Look, I mean, it's okay. I mean, again, you also, I say in first year, and I mean, it's also one of those things where radio is specifically something that we don't explore. We don't. I mean, you understand? Like, I would do it because that's what my career has been. So but it's as a consumer, you're not supposed to actually be aware of any more than what's in your feeder area. You understand? So OFM is also it's a legacy commercial station that feeds the Free State. You understand? And it dominates in the Free State. But the thing is, like, that's not fair for it's when I say it's not fair for free staters, right? Okay, because the free state is quite big, okay, and could use another option, and they don't. You see, the thing is that regionally, like I say, regionally, there's no competition between that and, let's say, the choice between a Metro and Five. Your choices to Metro and Five are always secondary, 98% secondary to your own regional first choice. Does that make sense, right? Um, on the average. So anyway, my point is, to come back to the whole thing about licensing and why it's so important for us to bring about more commercial stations. Is that alone? Is that the fact that we have so many? We have, what is it? It's over 60 million South Africans. Like, we have enough people to accommodate like more than 33 commercial stations. Okay. Anyway, okay. Um, uh, any news on that other student? Nothing coming in? No, not not.
He's asking for an invitation code. He's still struggling.
But can he not use the same link that you guys did?
I sent it to him,
Okay,
and
okay.
yeah.
And I'm sure you can. You can if
Offense,
there's.
can't you help?
I can't see. I can't see
Um,
the student.
I
I
don't
don't.
see him.
Where
Does
you
he have
where?
access
Mm.
to call campus?
His name is Zipo.
Okay, where are you seeing him, Sibulele?
We went together. We attend the classes together, but he's at home
Okay.
currently.
Okay, so it's not here. I'm saying in
Oh
this.
no, no, he's not.
Okay, that's what I'm
He's not.
searching. Okay, no,
Yeah.
I think you must just use the same thing. So if you see him in the waiting
Okay.
room, then won't you just please?
I'll text
Uh,
him.
okay, great.
Okay, cool.
Thank you so much for that.
Because
Okay,
I think if you, Chris, if you use
yeah,
the link directly from call campus, it doesn't need a code. It
it
looks you
doesn't.
in
No, it
automatically.
shouldn't.
It
That's why.
doesn't.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
Okay.
that's the way I've set it up. That's why I was wondering why, like, we had a bit of a, like, we were missing heads. It's the same. It's
Mm,
the same exact link. But again, I will figure that out
okay.
when we are joined next week, because I can only
Okay.
do it when we'll be I'll be in and out to see what the difference is.
All right.
Okay, all right. But anyway, okay. So so everyone fine so far? That's good. I mean, it's literally like a history lesson right now. So just again, okay. So you understand that ICASA has that's why we get our licenses. You understand their big role, super important, and obviously again, you now know just like a little bit about more about the landscape. But we will continue again just in terms of evolution. All right. Okay. So the next big thing is to be considering. I mean, our digital terrestrial television, which it was actually when they did this last year at the end of March, where uh, where where the government had already switched over. Like what we're experiencing right now is through there's like if we're watching television right now, there's some kind of man, I don't know the technical term for it, but it obviously there's a converter, like a converter, you understand, that converts our current analog on our, I'm saying on our sets, on our TV sets or whatever it may be, right? Like me, I have an old TV set because I love vintage stuff and it works perfectly. I look after my stuff. But anyway, the point is like that would need a definite converter to obviously move over to this DTT that is already something that isn't, it wasn't even a big deal for us to switch over. The thing is with digital audio broadcasting, so DAB, this is a bigger problem for us, especially being a third world country with our infrastructure, because DAB is something that in Europe, okay, well, the concept of DAB is to do away with AM and FM completely. So we don't have, so it's not just about having clear radio all the time. Do you understand? It is about so much more that we can build on that digital audio broadcasting platform, right? But the first thing and the main thing is to be able to access your own stations. I'm saying to you with complete clarity, no white noise, no loss, whatever it is, and so on and so forth, right? But the thing is that we need receivers, and we need receivers in our cars, and we need receivers in our homes, and that costs that costs a lot of money, you know. Um, uh, we in I mean I don't know, I don't live in other countries, but the fact that, let's say, places like Finland and Denmark and all these places that have completely done away with the AM and FM completely and switched to DAB. I mean, they have first world countries, again, based on infrastructure. Like that's why they're considered first world, but they can do that. They can have cars with these DAB receivers and so on and so forth. We are it does not mean we're in the first and beginning stages of DAB. We're actually quite far ahead in terms of testing it and, kind of putting it in the right places or whatever it may be, before it goes out to what is considered the larger majority of South Africans, right? But at this point, and I don't know more than that, it's purely an opinion. I don't see it happening here for quite some time, right? But there is obviously, it would be a great thing to have it, again, to move into a digital space, completely, even in our transmissions, etc. Okay, so whether a station is owned by government or not, SA radio stations. So I just kind of missed that. I'm so sorry. Or is it coming? And here it is. Oh yeah, with the commercial radio stations. Okay, it's still coming. It's coming. Okay, so again, SA radio stations operate on commercial business principles and operation standards and practices, and I mean that's something that we really deal with completely in third year, and I do with my third years, like is management in radio. We will. This course again is like, I'm assuming most of your first year courses. It's about touching base on how to understand a little bit more about this particular industry and craft. Okay, so we are going to talk about like what makes a station, which is content, right? And content is something that we might consider music based, or it's talk based, or it's commercial based, or I'm saying like advertising and sales, whatever it is, competitions, sponsorships, whatever it may be, anything that comes out like in a show is basically, it can be umbrellaed under content, even though later on we refer, and I will refer to content directly as what happens between music, so what we're doing when we're speaking and when we're doing interviews and when we are choosing to do little features and games and competitions or whatever it may be, right? Okay, so with just with this, so like many commercial businesses, radio stations are dependent on listeners. If we don't have listeners, like that affects like literally everything. 73% of all commercial income, and I would say, I mean, very likely so. We kind of assume the same model for community stations, but let's assume to the money makers is brought in by advertising revenue. Okay, so and you can imagine how much money that is on a yearly scale. So we're talking millions and millions and millions that are coming through, on in 1 year for a commercial station to stay afloat, and to obviously make profits and move on. We do have stakeholders. So in the case of state-owned enterprises, shareholders. In the case of privately or commercially owned radio stations. If we look at, again, community stations are actually borne by volunteers as stakeholders, like a board, where anyone from the community can opt to be on the board, and then obviously it's finalized, so we can have like a mom, or we can have a local accountant, or we can have a policeman, and we can have the program and station manager on these boards. The only difference is that you can enter for free, I say, like with community. Should the community station fail, then all those people on the board will be accountable for the fees that are now obviously needed to be paid, etc. Okay, so we've done this. Okay, I wanna see whether or not you can name them by province. Okay, so here in Gauteng, we'll start with the easy one. Like easy, I'm saying province because there's so many of them. Commercial stations, I've given you a 947. We know about Jacaranda. We spoke about YFM, and we spoke about Power. Who else is a regional commercial station here?
Can I give it a try?
Please do.
Isn't it Kaya FM?
Yes, Kaya is perfect. That's perfect. We have
Okay.
another talk station here. Who's the other talk station? 702, right? 702. So we have a large that's a large amount compared to the Free State where they have one, because and that just again shows you about the density of. Let's go to like KZN. So who's the biggest player in KZN commercially?
I think it's Okozi FM,
No, it's actually East Coast Radio. I'm saying so
East
commercial.
Coast.
So PBS stations, public broadcasting services, Ukozi will fall under there. Ukozi has and always will have and always has had the biggest amount of listeners. You understand? So when we look at
Mm.
the Rams, I'm gonna quickly just pop up the Rams figures. We won't go into it. That's a third year. It's a third year concept. Not that it's a scary thing. It's just that you don't need to worry about understanding how we get to these numbers and so on and so forth. You'll see that Ukozi obviously dominates completely because, right? But it's not a commercial station. So commercially down there, it is East Coast radio. Okay. And East Coast like is the first choice. It also again I just want to there's a concept. So we have P1 listeners, P2 listeners, P3, and so forth, right? A P1 listener is someone that only listens to that station and they throughout their entire consumption, like lifestyle consumption of radio, they do not choose any other station at all. So the P1 listenership for East Coast and Jacaranda are the highest in the country, and you will see that reflected actually in the numbers. But the thing is that they can charge. They have the highest rate cards, which a rate card is what we charge for advertising. You understand, right? Because they know that, like for example, I think it's let's say on average between the two stations, 62% of P1 listeners, people that only listen to their station, and that is a big way and a big justification as to why they can charge what they need to charge. But East Coast is the other commercial station. But there's another one in there. It's a new player, and it's at this point probably my favorite commercial station. Um, who else was introduced just recently in KZN?
Kakasi FM.
Yes, yeah. and they're doing really well. You know, it's just like they fresh. For me, I'm not gonna. Again, everyone has their own likes, but for me, it's so fresh. It's just fresh. You understand? That's how I listen when I listen to the shows. It's something I'm not switching off. You know, and that's a really good thing. You know. Okay. Then, okay, there's one in particular in the Eastern Cape. Who's that? Not the best station, but very much popular.
East Coast.
Not East Coast is in KZN. It is Algoa. Have you heard of Algoa FM?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, you know it
Right.
as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Is it that
Yes.
big?
it's.
Oh my
I'm.
God.
Yeah. No. So if you listen to Algoa, you'll notice that it's constructed very basically. When I
True.
say basically, there's a lot of music, there's a lot of simple programming. But the thing is that the Eastern Cape love that. They love Algoa. They support Algoa, you know? And it speaks a lot about the province, you know? Um, but PBS stations also are a massive effect, obviously, cause an effect around that the way that consumers are divided there in the Eastern Cape. Okay, I think you must, yeah, you're getting a bit of a feel. I'm gonna try. Let me see if I can just play this. Who is this? Anyone have it yet?
No, I can't hear anything.
I couldn't hear
Oh,
anything as
I
well.
can't hear anything. Damn, that's not right. Okay, so you guys must just say, guys, it's playing and I can't hear anything. Um, uh, damn. Okay, I wonder. Okay, let me see if I can try it from this side. Damn it, man. Okay, can you hear anything now?
Nope.
Still not.
No, I think when you play something, then it cuts out the mic.
Ah, damn it, man. Okay, guys, am not proficient in how to get around that. Okay, I'm gonna talk. Okay, you know what? Okay, can you do this for me as I added part of your it's just this one's just a simple addition to your tasks for this. Will you go to the slide and then play through these three, and then when we chat next week, you can give me some feedback on what you've heard and who you think it is. Right? Okay, is that okay?
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Cool. All right. Okay, so let's continue. Sorry about that. I don't know how to navigate that across teams and why it won't play that way. Um, um, I'm sorry. I feel terrible. But you'll be able to hear it. It is on call campus. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's look at commercial. Okay. Let's continue. In terms of again, this is all about again. When I say the bottom line, it is about the bottom line. So if you get to commercial radio, like you must know if you are losing listeners, like as a jock, you know your time is numbered. Like it is coming soon, if not today or tomorrow, and that's the way that people lose their jobs. Because when I say that, I'm saying in terms of like how fast someone will lose their jobs, even though they introduced like a short mandate in contracts, whereas on both sides, for example, a jock can't just decide to leave a station, like say I'm leaving next week, or I'm leaving, in 2 weeks' time. I've got another show, because it might be a big, let's say like it's a breakfast show, and you're now obviously you're held under a 3 month at least. The same can happen for like a station can't just sort tell you like, yeah, tomorrow is your last show. But the truth is that even though that is in place, it actually doesn't work either way for both parties, so the DJ or the station. Let's say, and this is the reason why, is because we've seen only very little of this. People have a lot of like the broadcasts have integrity, right? And also, I say integrity. You also don't want to really mess up the possibility of you getting a job somewhere else, or whatever it is, or creating chaos around you. So let's say a station says to you, like, we're done with you, your time is done, we're going to replace you, but you've got obviously your time to complete, or whatever it is. There have been DJs, and they still will be, I'm sure, very sure, going forward, that go on air and completely ruin the on-air product. You understand? So this is unfortunate. The way that I say that they blindside you is just a normal thing in the industry. Like, everybody gets quote unquote fired. Everybody, all of us. Like, your contract runs out at some or other point, and you are notified with a very short period of time, because of the fact that the product needs to be protected first. You understand? The thing is, if even if, let's say, you are a presenter that will not go ahead and do something like that, you lose complete connection with the product. So, obviously we can talk about like just endless examples of people that had certain behaviors, where contracts have ended, or they were immediately let go, etc., etc. But the thing is, again, to come to work, where a place where you know that they don't want you anymore, like to go on air, and the thing is, like, this product is you, like, you go on air and you are you understand, with all the bells and whistles and the skills that you brought with it. Like, it is not easy and almost impossible to just sell this thing. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And to not just be like. So in particular, and this is I can at least use this one example, where Pubby was doing the lunch, you know and there was this article that, I think, Vanity Fair, or she did an article with Vanity Fair, which, she spoke about her past, and her past is not that great. It was filled with a lot of alcohol and addictions and whatever it is. And our CEO wanted a reason, just any reason, to get rid of her anyway. That's always the thing. Our CEO back then was a horrible woman. She still is a horrible woman, but she's not there anymore either. And she fired Pubby for that article, saying that you can't be affiliated. They don't want to be affiliated with someone who has a past like that. Which was not even, that's not even a reason. You understand? But was sitting there. Pubby was doing a show, and she just said to me, "You know what? I don't even know why I'm here. Like, I genuinely don't even know why I'm standing right here." She packed her bags, she put the show on autoplay, and she just left. You understand? Like, that's like, which is in a full right. I was like, what do you want to do? You understand? But the thing is, the station sits there and the product just stands there. And that's the station's problem, because it wasn't pubbies anymore. Do you understand? The way that you normally are let go of your contract is never a nice thing. You understand? So, I say that just because we look at this bottom line, and the bottom line is so intrinsic in your survival at a commercial level, that it's either you or the station, and it's always the station first. You there? I actually wrote an article about this. So I do like the top five bankable broadcasters every year. I put on my site, but I decided, you know what? Last year, at the end of last year, I wanted to do particularly like the people that are the best, I'd say, influential people, the people that have changed this industry for me so much, like the people that still care about their presenters and their staff and their show, yeah, I mean, and their product and everything, you know. And there is a handful, and there are slash a handful of really great like managers and station managers that still exist out there, you know. They're in the minority, but they don't treat their staff like that. So I'm not saying, man, if you go into that, like that's what you can expect, and boom, you're out, you know, like count your days. But I do want you to take notice of how volatile this industry has become, you know. And you must know that if you look at your own favorite stations, you know, the changes that have happened become more and more frequent. You understand, and that ruins a next generation commercial jock's career. So a number have come, for example, in and out of 947, Metro FM, of like slightly YFM, and definitely at 5. You understand? But they've never been heard of again. So they make their big break on commercial, and then they just disappear because the stations are unstable, you know, and that's why I'm going to leave it at that. Just to know that you'll never be more important than the bottom line. Um, but uh, but yeah, it's not at all a horrible business industry. There's just bad parts of it and great parts like anything else. Okay. Um, any comments just in terms of like what your thoughts on the industry are before I carry on with the deregulations and so on and so forth. Any thoughts?
I think I still have a lot to learn about radio, especially the stations and the difference between commercial and community. But I do have an idea,
Okay.
and also the commercial ones, just to classify between them and those that are national, and
Okay.
then also the getting of licenses, content creating, all those things. But
Okay.
it's a lot. I can see that it's a lot, but I know
Okay.
in due time everything will fall into place.
So again, please, guys, there's no student ever. Again, whether you're at school, whether you're at varsity, whether you are adult training, it doesn't matter. Like you will never get everything and understand anything in the class that you're given it. Do you understand? It's something that has to sink in, and you have to kind of go obviously like recap as you know. You know, you would know you've gone through school, and to do well at obviously at your studies or to understand something a little bit more. Obviously, varsity is a much more intense space, but you just all you have to do is follow. Do you understand? Does that make sense? I'm not saying the classes, I'm saying the information. So follow the information, be like, okay, cool, there's something I don't understand that I want to make sure that my my brain will conceptualize properly at a later stage, you know, tomorrow, later this week, whatever it is. uh, you must just let me know. Okay. And you, Sibusiso?
It's Wilel.
That's
Well,
lovely.
I'm actually taking it one day at a time.
Sure.
So if I have any questions, I'll simply ask.
Sure. And again,
Yes.
guys, I will, if you can, I mean, I'll just, I don't know where I can post this just yet, but while we're online, can you quickly take my number down, or maybe I can put it in the chat? Let me just put it in the chat.
I can't view the chat. I'm not quite sure if it's at me or what's happening. Where do I
Let
even
me
go?
see if there is. Where is this chat now?
I can't see it as well.
I think it's because we are able to use the mic. So if you're able to use the mic, then you can't use the chat. Apparently,
Okay, so if I type let's see something here, I'm gonna say hi in the chat. Can you see anything pop up on your screens?
I doubt.
Nothing?
Mm-mm.
Not, eh? Okay, here's my number. Here's my phone
Okay.
number.
Okay.
072
072
643
643
I'm gonna say that again. 072
Mm-hmm.
643
Mm-hmm.
5502.
Thank
So
you
you
so
can
much.
just send me a WhatsApp
Okay.
uh, and just say it's Sibulele from Radio One Part Time Offensive
Okay.
Radio Part One Radio Part Time Radio One, and then I can create a group. Okay,
Okay. Will do.
so that we can
Okay.
we can just be able to communicate further. Okay, let's continue then and try and finish up lesson one, and then we'll try and get as far as we can with lesson two. But ideally, I can see us taking the break to do a little bit of the practical, right? And then coming back to finish with that. Okay. Okay. So let's look at some again deregulations and liberalizations. Oh my word. Okay, what a word. Anyway, liberalizations. Okay. All right. So deregulations, the government withdrawal of a number of rules, laws, etc. Like we know that anything putting in and out in terms of like the constitution or any legalities moving, we're saying I filter that under constitutions and acts and whatever it is, will have the ripple effect or the immediate ripple effect on how we run what we consider free media in this country, right? And I mean, at least we don't have that type of very blatant control from our government saying like you need to do this or you're not allowed to do this, and they do control like the news that is available to the public and so on and so forth, right? But Okay. There was I was saying about how there was before everyone belonged to the SABC, but then we wanted to create competition. You understand? Like, so the thing is that the SABC wanted that, as that they wanted that, so they privatized a couple of stations: 947, Jacaranda, East Coast KFM, OFM, and Algo FM, right? So and this was uh, uh, I say this was a big thing, because the thing is that competition in an industry means a stronger industry in general, right? And then we had a whole bunch that obviously joined that. Again, their Heart FM, Kai FM, Cape Talk, Kakasi FM, Classic YFM, etc., etc. Right? Okay. Where are we? We must look at who we are targeting as well. So we need to go and look at statistics that are dependable. One, okay, and obviously real at the same time. We say dependable and real. Dependable is maybe in terms of the processing, then and the obviously the extractions that they are using to determine certain outputs. And then when I say real and factual, that is like the actual stats itself, right? For us to be able to make decisions on. But we know that there is, I think, what do we? I think it's is it an 89% of our country is black. Then we have, I think, 7% is white. I think 3% is Indian. I'm not sure of the full statistics, but the point is that like we need media and media sources that represent that part. You understand those percentages equally. You understand. So I'm saying to you in that way, and because that is how we want to be able to once again be able to reach as many people responsibly as possible, right? So when any product is made, Well, I'm not saying about a radio product. We're talking about products in general, right? We in 2023 we target a black audience because we are that's where ideally we'd like to get the money from. Do you understand? And the response to the services or whatever it is, or the involvement, right? So we must think of like the way that our industry is represented and also segmented as the same thing as well, right? It's not to say, just because you are white or you are like a foreign, like an Asian foreigner or whatever it is, or you are Indian, like you don't matter. It's just that you need to know that like what's being sold as a core market is to obviously target our black population first. Let's look at some facts, a couple more facts, and then we'll be done. The reasoning behind the commercialization of once public owned stations and the granting of new licenses is based on two reasons. Once again, I mean, we can read right there, but the thing is that we need more competition. We don't need, like, again, a free state situation that is untouched because people don't think that the free state actually matters. And that's not affecting. That's a perception thing, right? So so let's have a look here. There are three major contenders in the market. We have Kakiso Media. Kakiso Media owns Jacaranda. They own OFM. They own East Coast Radio and so on. Prime Media, as I've said to you. So that's where obviously I spent my commercial career at. And we have African Media Entertainment, AME. So we have also hybrids, like hybrid stations like YFM and Kaya FM that are made up of different investments from different stakeholders, right? As I said, there are commercial stations that belong to the SABC, but there's only three. It's 5FM, it's Metro, and it's Good Hope. Good Hope is weird because it's the only of the three that is a regional station down in the Cape. Okay, so just again, some conditions and formats, and for public radio stations. So again, Ikukwezi, we have Lotus in there. So again, Lotus is for our Indian population, right? And that is based in KZN. You understand? We have Ariskia, which is like purely Afrikaans, right? So from this already, we're starting to see what I said earlier, that everyone is represented in some way, shape, or form. We have German stations that obviously are a community here in South Africa because we have a somewhat German population, a community somewhere. We have Jewish stations. We have Chai FM, right, which is a big Jewish station. Like we have everything, right? Like every country, I'm guessing, does as well. Okay, and then you can obviously see that we broadcast in every single language that you see, and in terms of our official languages, but we also broadcast, if you go further and further into community radio, into a much wider variety of languages. Nearly done. One more slide here, and then I'll give you the break. Okay, so just in terms of formats, so looking at full services versus sports and music, looking for youth, like True FM is, I mean, I think it was True or it's UFM, one of the two. Like when I was at the awards last year, the radio awards, I mean, they were doing some really great radio and being nominated pretty much kind of everywhere. So there's so much radio out there. You don't have to go and listen to everything. What I did once, which is, I had this thing, a hashtag 30 station challenge, right? So that every week, you know, it was about choosing a new station that you've never heard of before, and you choose to listen to them just for a week. If you never want to listen to them again, never do. You understand? But like for you to force yourself to know a little bit more about what is happening, around you, in terms of stations. Try that out. You don't have to give the stations full days. You can give them like an hour or so, and it's actually kind of okay. What I consider fun, and I don't know what other people do. It was kind of fun, to do that, because I just felt a little bit more connected with the craft that I really love. So again, lots of other stations that are and can be listed under community stations, but we're not going to go through the 276. But as I said, they operate hand to mouth, and it's not because um, look, the majority are badly managed, and it's not because of corruption or something. It's just, especially because of the lack of funding, right? So community stations do get government funding once a year to help them out, right? But the thing is that every single station has to fend for itself, every station, so that is part of their license agreements, right? We have a lot of community stations that are very profitable and so very big as well on their own, but are in the mass minority compared to that 276. Okay, I don't want to go too much into that, because I think I've spoken enough about this, and I think you guys have got a little bit more of an idea. I wanted to just quickly, so what I'm doing is I'm just going to switch. Okay, let me, before I switch over to the Rams, quickly have a look here. So just for next week, okay, uh, you can, go to the African Media Entertainment group to find out which stations are there, Prime Media and Kakiso, and choose one station each to listen to an hour of. Okay, you also must listen to an hour of a community station, right? And an hour from a PBS station. Okay. So fill in a media log to keep track of your listening. In other words, like, all you need to do is just write down, like, I listened at this time, I listened to this show. Tell me a bit about the show. You don't have to understand formats, nothing. Just tell me a little bit about what you listened to, when you listened to it, what you thought of it. That's it. But you got to complete activity 1A, question 1, 2, question 1, 2, and 3 on page 15. Is that cool? Everyone okay with that?
All right, cool.
Okay. What I want to just quickly do before I let you go on the break, okay, is I want to just switch screens here. I'm just going to stop sharing here so I can share the where is this? So you can just see what a Rams look like. Okay, this is not what they look like. This is the summary report. So just so that you can see, what we do is we compare. So there should be four, what we call four diaries. Okay, a year. Okay. And the diaries and the process and all that I can explain at a later date, because that'll be additional information over what you need to actually know. But what we look at is the growth year on year, actually, at a certain day, year on year, right? So it says there's September of 2020, 21 to August, and then September. Man, what's going on there, man? Okay, this one's not a detailed. But let's just look at just here, because these are rising numbers over there. Okay, and then P's, I don't want to start explaining what P7D is and Y day. I just want you to look at the figures. That's all I want you to do, is have a look at. So that's obviously 7.5 million for Ukwazi Metro, and that's nationwide. So we're looking at 4.7. So Umklobo Wenene is up there third, which is actually super great. That's a bit of a rise for them as well. Let's move down so you can see there. So PBS, right? Okay, Radio 2000 PBS. And we have commercial PBS. Once again, PBS. Then we have the actual So look at that East Coast and Kakasi is that's amazing that they're actually beating East Coast radio. I want you to keep in mind what I said to you about the P1 listener. So someone that listens to, for example, Kakasi FM or Metro FM, or you understand, are more prone to also listen to other stations at the same time. So they'll share. Okay, but we have East Coast, we have Jacaranda, we have KFM, which is really great to actually see how well they've grown from that downfall. 947, 5FM, and then YFM, and so on and so forth. Okay, so all these are available. Okay, everything and more is available on Call Campus. Okay, uh, so I'm just gonna close the current tab because I want the AKA thing to come for the next thing. Okay, okay, and I'm gonna just stop the sharing now. Any questions at all about that? And I'm just going to stop the stop the recording here. Recording. Here we go. Okay.
Chris,